Hello, welcome back, my gorgeous friends from the internet. I hope you are doing well. In the last session, we discussed about finding your purpose, finding your raison d'etre, your reason of being. And in this session, we are going to build up on that. So, how do you take that purpose and how do you build a business around it? And the topic we're going to discuss today, it's called business model, and we're going to learn how to create a transformative business model and why does it matter. So get your printables from the link below, print them out, and I'll see you after the intro. So I hope you're ready with the printables. And let's start with the business model. What is a business model? A business model is a company's core strategy for making money, for doing business in a profitable and sustainable way. And a business model deals with things such as who are your customer, what value do you provide, how do you create that value, and why it's a sustainable and profitable business. And there are several types of business models. Actually, there are dozens of them or even hundreds of them. We are going to focus on 8 or so, and we are also going to discuss. I'm also going to use real life examples where of companies who have implemented these models, and and how do you create your business model, a transformative business model that gives you edge over your competition. So we are going to discuss these 8 business models in this session. And I just have my notes here so I don't forget anything. And the first one is affiliation. Second one is auction. Third one is crowdfunding. Fourth one is e-commerce. Fifth one is franchising. Sixth, freemium. Seventh, razor and blade. And eighth, subscription. And don't worry about writing all this down because you will be able to download the course workbook, and you will get not just this lesson but each and every video we have recorded. You will get all the information in the workbook, and you'll even get more detailed information such as examples and things you couldn't cover in the video because of the length limitations or time limitations we had. So let's talk about the first model. The first model is affiliation. And when you talk about affiliation, most people think about affiliate marketing. And that is kind of true. But I don't want you to become the affiliate. That's not what this is about. I don't want you to drive traffic to someone else's website. I want you to be the website that allows other people to drive traffic to your website, and you can give them some commissions for bringing traffic to your page and for selling and marketing your product. So you're basically outsourcing your sales, um, to the community, to the whole world actually. And this has been very successful in the era of internet. And one of the most successful examples of this is, of course, Amazon. If you as you consume content on And on Facebook or on Instagram, you'll always see these affiliate links for, books or other products which you can buy. And every time someone buys that, the video creator or the content creator gets a small commission from it without costing you anything more. And this really drives gig economy, but it also drives sales for Amazon. So Amazon is a live example of this, a real life success story of affiliate model. And I advise you to look into it. But I don't want you to be the person, driving a lot of traffic on someone's website. I want you to be like Amazon. Because, driving traffic to someone's else's website is just too much trouble with not much reward in the long run. Initially, you might feel like you're gaining a lot of money from earning a lot of money from commissions, but it's not the same thing as building your own brand and as your own business. So the second model is auction model. And what does auction mean? Auction literally means selling to the highest bidder in a given time frame. And who uses this? I'll give you an example. Google uses this for Google Ads. Facebook also uses it for their ads. But there's also a company called eBay, which you've definitely heard of. And eBay also uses this, but actually it lets you use this, right? It's not its base model. So Facebook and Google are selling their ad spaces to the highest bidder. And which it is a very good model when you don't know what something's worth and how much competition or how much demand it has. So this way, you are letting people decide the price. So you're not selling it too high or too low, because people are deciding the price and you're getting the best money you can get for your ad space or whatever. The same is true for eBay. If you sell something on eBay, just a second, let me make sure it's eBay. Yeah, because eBay has different services throughout the world. Some places it does not allow auctioning, but in most countries it does. And eBay allows you to post a product, to share a product, and there could be different bidders, and you can sell your product to the highest bidder. So Facebook, Google use it, eBay allows you to use it if you want to sell something, just to keep something in mind. So that's auctioning, right? You're selling to the highest bidder in a given time frame, or if it's a physical auction, of course, it's in a limited space and time, so you have a venue. Now, third model is a kind of newly emerging model, and it's called crowdfunding. And what crowdfunding does, it allows you to diversify your seed funding. So instead of relying on some investor or some venture capitalist firm to invest in your company, you are really building trust through internet, and you're allowing common people who build in the vision and the story of your product to invest in your product. And because it's scattered, it's distributed, even if some people pay, let's say some people pay $100 or $10, it's still, when you have thousands of users, you can really raise a lot of money without the same commitment. And an example of it is Oculus Rift. Their virtual reality headset was created using crowdfunding, and they raised about $2.5 million from 9,500 supporters. And in return, they delivered those headset to those supporters before they were launched for everyone else. So, this is one other way to run your business, or at least to start your business, through crowdfunding. Fourth model is e-commerce model, and e-commerce is really a big thing now. It's almost it's a revolution which once happened, you can't take it back. E-commerce is really taking over the conventional marketing, especially in bigger countries. Where you have a huge country, but you don't really have as many people, and but it's also doing great where people are more concentrated, more condensed, more closely packed because the logistics would be much more reasonable. So it's doing well everywhere throughout the globe, and it's replacing conventional, um, buying and selling. So e-commerce is basically you are placing you're going on a website or on an application, you're scrolling, you're looking for a product, you add to cart, you check out, you pay through your card, or even you can pay cash on delivery or pay on delivery. So you, instead of going to a shop, a physical store, and checking out, on the counter, you are checking out from your phone, and that's e-commerce. Or you can also say it's an online store-based marketing, but the technical term for the business model is e-commerce. The next model is called franchising, and this is old. This is not new, but this is like an evergreen model. If you have something which is useful in day-to-day life, and you want it to, you want to expand your business throughout a country or throughout a region or even throughout the world, but you cannot manage all those operations, right? So you own your brand. You sometimes you supply the materials, but you give franchises. You let other small business owners open an outlet on your behalf, and they're using your brand. That you can control the quality, and so any store across the nation or across the world, people would have the same quality, and all the stores look as per your brand specifications, and they have your logo and they have everything you would want to have to make it your look like your business. And you're also marketing on social media, on TV, right, everywhere. But you are not running the local stores, and someone else is running the local stores on your behalf, but as per your uh, guidelines. And companies like McDonald's and Burger King and Domino's, and even Starbucks have been doing this for a long, long time, and it's a very successful business model. Recently, Mr. Beast, the famous YouTuber Mr. Beast, uh, had an amazing result from this model. So it's one of the oldest, but it's still very, very, very potent. And definitely worth trying if you need a lot of retail outlets, but you don't have the manpower to manage all those, or if you want to reduce your risks. The next model is called freemium. And as you can see, it's an abbreviation. It's merging, it's combination of two words, free and premium. Freemium. So what's a freemium product is? A freemium product is something you can use, and you can have a limited set of functionalities for free. But if you want higher functionalities, you would have to pay, and you would have to upgrade your plan. A lot of companies are doing that. In fact, a lot of online games do this. Companies such as Canva, Spotify, even YouTube is doing it these days. You have this ad-free plan if you want to upgrade, but you can still watch YouTube for free, and you will be shown ads. So that's a freemium model. And what happens is, excluding YouTube, because YouTube has a huge revenue from ads, but what happens is a small number of users who are buying the premium plan are supporting all the free services. And there are lots of examples, like There is a design software called Figma. Of course, Canva uses it. Spotify uses it. So there are lots of companies who are doing great with this model, and it's definitely worth trying if you want to bring people in, and you want them to try your product, and then if your product is good, they're definitely going to pay for better features. Okay, this one's one of the oldest and most cunning models. It's called Razor and Blade. It was named Razor and Blade because Gillette started using it. And the other names for this is printer and cartridge because of the it's used by HP, and fish and bait model. Sorry, bait and hook model. Because you are baiting someone and then they get stuck in the hook. They're hooked. So what this is you provide the basic feature for the basic product for very, very free, the main product for very, very low price, not free but very low price, and then the renewables would be very expensive. And of course, as I said, Gillette uses it. You can get the razors for very cheap price, but the blades are very expensive. So they're making more money from blades than from razors. And the same is true with HP. And HP printers are relatively reasonable, but the cartridges are expensive. And they make more money from cartridges than from the printer themselves. And so this is a model where you get people hooked, and the initial offering is very, very low, but the renewables are very expensive. So that's Razor and Blade model. It's one of the most cunning. Now, the last model is a subscription model. And what a subscription means is you are paying for a duration. You're subscribing to their product or service for a duration for a fixed price. It could be on a monthly basis, but it's people prefer an annual plan, but you can have monthly or yearly or quarterly plans to which people can subscribe, and they are paying a fixed price for a limited duration of time. And this helps a business because sometimes user needs are fluctuating. They might not need a product all year long. The demands might be high and low throughout the year, or throughout the day, or throughout the month, and there is no real way to ask for to expect them to pay for every single transaction, every single time they use your service, because that would not just drive you crazy, that would drive them crazy with all those transactions coming in, monetary transaction coming in. And because it's up and down, it's really hard for you to keep the business running. If you have servers, you won't really know how many users you have, and things like that. So how do you manage a business when there is a lot of up and down in demand, but you still have a valid business, right? People still need it. They just might need it a little bit more sometimes, a little bit less sometimes. They might not use it for a few days. For example, Spotify, right? I won't use Spotify maybe for 10 days, and then I'm listening for 12 hours. Or I'm not watching YouTube, and then I'm watching YouTube for 8 hours straight. I'm watching something very, very interesting, like a documentary or something, and I'm using it for a long time. So subscription model really helps because you already make them commit for a duration, and they can go up and down, but they can view as much as they like or as little as they like, but they are still paying a fixed amount for a fixed duration, and that brings a lot of harmony into chaotic business. A good example of this is, of course, Netflix. They basically revolutionized everything, entertainment, everything entertainment industry had for years and years and years. You would go out and you would rent a DVD or VCR cassette, VHS tape, uh, and or even DVDs, and you would you would return it the other day, and of course it was a lot time consuming. It consumed a lot of time. It was also inconvenient to people, but so that's where we are coming, right? Netflix basically transformed the business model from a rental based model to a subscription based model. And so when we go in, that's our next topic when you're discussing transformative business models. But this is a good example of a transformative model. So, why are we talking about business models and we are not talking about technology or the product itself or the service itself? And the reason is, according to recent studies, they realized that much of the success in the industry depended upon use of a transformative business model and not on the technology. For example, there was a study conducted by BMI, Business Model Innovation Lab of the University of St.Gallen, and they concluded that 90% of successful, and I quote, right? I'm reading literally, and I quote, 90% of successful tech corporations merely adapted, refined, or combined existing ideas and business models. Only 10% or less were based on disruptive technological breakthroughs. Um, Only 10% or less were based on disruptive technological breakthroughs. Successful innovators learn and recombine, whereas pioneers get eaten by the wolves because they are entering, a new territory. They have no idea how people would respond. They have no, right? They have nothing to aim for. They don't know how it will go. But when someone has done something, you can learn from their mistakes and not repeat them again. So, and then there was another article. This one's by Harvard Business Review. It was printed in October 2016, so it's quite old, but not that old. And the article was itself called "The Transformative Business Model," and it states, and I quote: "We usually associate an industry's transformation with adoption of new technology, but although new technologies are often major factors, they have never transformed an industry on their own. What, what does achieve such a transformation is a business model that can link a new technology to an emerging market need." So this is something we actually discussed in the first video, and we talked about users need. We talked about technological feasibility in an entrepreneur coming in and making it commercially viable. So, and that's basically, that's not literally a business model, but that's the idea behind a business model. Because how do you link a technological feasibility to a need in a way that it's commercially viable? And here are some examples, that technology really does not create a transformation in an industry, and it does not really help a business, succeed. So Google didn't invent search engines. IBM didn't invent computers. Apple didn't invent MP3 players. Amazon didn't invent online bookstores. Facebook did not invent social media. And before Apple came out with iPod, MP3 device could carry thousands of songs on a small device. But MP3 models MP3 devices, would call, even Sony had its own, called Walkman. It was initially cassette player, but then got smaller. It was like an MP3 player. Uh, and MP3 players didn't succeed until Apple came up with a way to legally put the songs you like onto an MP3 device. And it not just allowed them to put songs on an MP3 device legally, it also made them pay for each song. So, they came up with not just the technology was already there. We already had MP3 players, but Apple came up with a new model and that allowed people to, purchase and play music in a different way. And that really was the secret behind iPod's success. And it allowed Apple to move beyond just the hardware devices and the computer software, even into the era or area of subscription businesses. Because if you have an iTunes subscription, I don't know how it works. Um, I've never had an iTunes subscription, but it's basically allowing Apple to make a lot of money even from that. So even if people didn't buy a new device, this is still adding to their income. It's still adding to their revenue. So Airbnb is another example of this, right? Airbnb did not invent hotel industries. It did not invent the technology behind the app, behind the rental apps, but it saw a need and it saw a possibility. So there was already technological possibility, there was a need, and they thought, let's make it commercially viable. Let's bridge this gap. And they allowed people who had spare bedrooms or who had spare houses to be rented to people coming on a vacation or going somewhere on vacation or things like that. So, and as of 2019 estimate, Airbnb accounts for 20% of vacation rental industry. So they were already captured 20% of the industry. They didn't even invent. They didn't even invent the technology that allowed them to capture 20% of the industry. But they saw a need. They saw technological possibility and they bridged the gap. So how do you create a transformative business model? You do so by asking 4 questions. Who are my customers? Who am I selling to? What do I sell? How do I create and deliver it? How do I create and deliver value? And why is this commercially viable? And if you take these 4 options, 4 questions, and if you tweak any one or any two, you would be able to create a transformation in the industry. And a good example is let's take Netflix. Netflix has the same customers as a rental, people who would be renting a DVD or VHS or something. They are selling the same thing, they are selling entertainment, but what did they change? They changed how do we create and deliver it, right? They delivered it through internet, they are streaming, they're allowing you to stream the content on demand, and they also change it based on a subscription business. So they changed two factors, and they were able to capture. They pretty much held the whole industry under their command right now. Although others are learning, it might change, but they were really able to capture a big market just by changing two of the four factors. Now, companies such as Wix and Squarespace were able to monetize and were able to transform the industry because they changed the question, who are we selling to? So, creating a website was usually sold to a designer or a developer, but Wix and Squarespace and companies like that decided we will sell directly to the business owner, we will sell to the entrepreneurs, and that way they were able to capture. Although the websites won't be as elegant as made by professional designers, uh, you know, a team of designers and developers, but it still works, right? And they were able to capture a big market by asking who and changing the customer. So they just changed one of four factors. But of course, they also changed some details of all other three factors, because the way you would sell, how you would sell services to a designer, you don't sell the services the same way to an entrepreneur, small business owner with very little technical knowledge, because you don't sell the domain and the hosting and everything separate. That's not how Squarespace does it, or Wix does it. They allow it, but that's not what they prefer. They have they've created an infrastructure where it's really available in a package, and uh, it's all nicely packed. It's all made available in a way that you don't need to be too tech savvy to be able to utilize their service. So now look at the printable. The printable is called Business Model Trident, and it starts on the left hand side. It starts with the question what. The question who is, who are your customers? If you don't know this, it's really hard to do anything to get them, right? Because if you don't know who they are, how the hell are you going to attract them? So, who are your customers? Then, let's say if you want to start a lemonade stand, uh, then your customers would be anyone who is passing by, anyone who is passing on that street, on the sidewalk, or even on their car. So, all the passerbys are your customers. Now, what are you delivering, right? What do you give them? Let's say you give lemonade, right? So that's your what? What is your value proposition? Is you create, you help them stay hydrated in summer by selling lemonade. That's your value proposition. Now, how do you create lemonade? You know, that would be your process. How do you create it? So you need water, you need something to squeeze lemon with, you might need sugar and all those things, and you will have your whole process to make lemonade. And then why are you doing this? Why is this profitable? So it's a tricky question, because you're not really asking why is this profitable. What you're really asking is how to make this profitable. What means to use, what model to use to really make this profitable. And so as you continue towards the right, now let's look back at the first question, and you have who and what. That gives you value proposition. So your what is lemonade, but what's your value proposition? What value do you propose? What value do you create? Is you really help people stay hydrated in a convenient way by selling what you sell. So, lemonade might change. You might change your product, but if your value proposition might be the same. You might sell orange juice, and still you are still satisfying the same, you're still delivering the same value. Now, who and how, when you add those questions, you might get your value chain. Now, your value chain is really your whole value stream. It might be as simple as you squeezing the lemons. You're going to a local store, getting all the raw materials, you're squeezing lemons, you're making lemonade, and then selling. Or as you grow, it might be complex value chain. It might be complex value stream, where you have suppliers and you have people who make it. You might have machinery to make it, and you might have machinery to deliver it. Well, not literally machinery to deliver it, but you will have some logistics to deliver it. So that all comes in the value chain, your value stream. And the third question is, when you add who and why, you get your revenue model. Because why are you doing this and for whom you are doing this, you can really make sure that this is commercially sustainable, viable, and successful. And I want you to spend at least a week thinking about these things in detail. Who are your customers? Think of demographics. Think in terms of demographics. So who are they, where they live, things like that, their age, etc., etc. But also think in terms of psychographics, like what are their aspirations, what do they desire, what gives them inspiration, what uplifts them, what makes them feel down. Because you don't want them to make to feel down. You want to make them feel uplifted, right? That's how you sell it. You don't make someone feel bored and down. They won't buy your service that way. If every time I went to Walmart and it had terrible experience and I felt low after coming home, it is really a discourager, right? You don't want to go there and you don't want to shop there anymore. So think about all those things and think about what are you creating. Go in as much detail, because it's not just lemonade, right? You might be doing something more sophisticated. You don't need to, but you might. And then how do you create it? Like, what's your process? Can you optimize the process? Can you remove some steps? Can you combine some steps? How can you make it more efficient? And the third is why. Why is this commercially viable? Why is this profitable? And then think about how can you increase your profit. Can you buy, let's take example of lemonade, can you buy a week's worth of lemonade in advance from a wholesale store to reduce your supply costs? Um, so that's one of the ways to think about this. So each business is different. There is very little I can do to help on a video to each person, to each user, to each business owner. But I'm sharing these broad ideas so you can really, really utilize, you can really, really get the best out of the templates we've designed. And you will also see that we haven't cluttered it and we haven't constrained it, so we don't have these boxes you always have to fill things in, because we want this thing to be as creative as it's analytical, and we want you to engage both the hemispheres of your brain. So there is space to draw something, there is space to scribble, there is space to write. You can even use post-it or sticky notes. So be as creative as you like. But that's not, this, you're not going to be graded on this or anything, right? But the goal is it helps you think in more detail about your business, just besides your product, right? Because when you talk about business, we have this tendency to hyper focus on the product itself, and we forget what this product is all about. Whom is it serving? How is it profitable to me and to my shareholders? And things like that. So this canvas, this printable template really helps you step back and take a bird eyes view on the whole about the whole business venture. So take a week or so, think about it, work on it, refine it, bring all your teammates in, bring your family and friends, get everyone's opinion, but be the judge, right? You have to be decisive and you have to be responsible as the business owner. So, one of the things that reminds me of the Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, said, listen more, speak less, but be decisive when you need to be. And this is how he conducts his meeting. So it's good to get everyone's opinion, but in the end, you are the decision maker, right? This is going to be your success and your failure. So you will have to be responsible and you'll have to be the decision maker. As always, have a wonderful day or a wonderful night and a wonderful life, and all the best for your business ventures. Bye bye. Namaste.